Bandai Namco has been on a roll with adaptations of animes. This is the third one we've gotten in the span of a few weeks, maybe a month and a half. This time around, the slime is taking his journey through reincarnation with That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Isekai Chronicles. The previous two were Spy Anya Operation Memories and Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation Quest of Memories. These games were not good at all. I have a review of both of those on my channel. But does this Time of the Slime make it shine? Find out now. Now, the same thing goes with all of my reviews. I do not spoil anything because I want you to experience everything for yourself. However, there are going to be some things shown on the screen where it does showcase some of the show. The game does a good job at showcasing what is the anime and some of the story with the anime. It does a pretty decent job at actually doing that, and that's one of the pros of this. However, you're going to see some stuff on the screen. If you haven't seen the anime, just be warned. Now, to touch base on the story, I do want to kind of discuss a very beginning of it, just so you kind of get a quick synopsis of it. In That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, you play as Rimuru. It starts with him being a human. He's a human, and he gets stabbed on the streets of Tokyo. That's the sound of him dying. He dies, and that's really bad. Not unfortunately, he gets reincarnated as a slime. This slime gives him the ability to suck things off. To suck people. No, it gives him the ability to engulf things with his predator skill. He can suck. I'm going to stop saying suck. He can just engulf things, and once he engulfs this, he can take their powers, he can store stuff. For example, very beginning of the anime, I think like the first episode, he stores different objects like herbs and stuff, and he learns to create potions with this predator ability, and he ends up just doing this forever and ever, just storing a bunch of potions. So he has this really unique ability. He can also do this with enemies, not only getting stronger, but also gaining abilities from special enemies. It is once he does this that he meets other enemies and other creatures and other monsters out in the world and builds a community. That's where we're going to stop on discussing the story. I will say I did enjoy the story of the game because it follows the anime pretty closely. There are some exceptions. There is a created chapter for the game that did not take place in the anime, and oh god, it's a chapter, all right. I won't go too much into it, but it is Chapter 2, and Chapter 2 drags on forever. There is an enemy who you defeat, and he says, oh, well, I'll get stronger, and he comes back, and you fight him again, and he keeps doing this over and over. It drags on forever, and I definitely feel like this was my least favorite part of the story because it just drags. And I feel like it should have been later in the game. With them doing it right after Chapter 1, it kind of made me go, why am I playing this? This game is getting boring. And I think it definitely should have been an optional chapter, maybe at the end of the game, not something that you go right into after Chapter 1. Now, as far as gameplay, we're going to touch base on two different aspects. There's the city building and there is the combat. The combat is a side-scroller beat-em-up, and the city building is boring, so let's go ahead and touch base on the city building first. Now, when I say the city building is boring, that's because it is pretty boring. There's not a lot there. I would have liked it if you went out on missions, and when you came back from the missions, you saw new buildings, and it would give you a reason to explore and see what's new in my city. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. All you do is you get these vacant plots of land, and you can throw these buildings on them. The buildings do give you increases to health or whatever you choose depending on what you're throwing down, and as you progress in the story, you do unlock stronger buildings. So you can then tear down your shittier buildings and put newer buildings on there which make you stronger. You can use these buildings as well by walking up to them and pressing X. A dialog box pops up and says you've used the building. You can use one building in between missions. That is it. That is all they do. So with me throwing down these buildings, I feel like they just get in the way, and it doesn't really make me want to go explore my city or anything like that. And instead, I'm just throwing them down and running back and forth between my town, trying to get a mission, accept it, and leave. I don't think there's any benefit of having the city building because it just is there and doesn't really bring anything to the game. Another aspect is the combat, which is a side-scroller beat 'em up. It's okay, it's fun. Exploring the map is the same thing over and over. You get different maps with different areas and they look cool, different enemies, blah, 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 whatever. It's the same thing. There's nothing really different with the mechanics. You get these treasure chests and you can open them and you get materials in it. And this is one of my gripes with the game. You get materials in these treasure chests and then you'll go back to town and get a mission and it'll be like, you need to get 10 wood. You could already have wood and it'll be like new material wood that you have to get. You could already have like 50 wood and it doesn't count it. You have to go back out on a mission to collect 10 wood. And I'm like, well, I already have this. Shouldn't this quest be completed already? But no. The game doesn't allow that. So I found that to be kind of annoying and it would have helped speed up the game, especially when I already had the stuff. Now, as far as the combat, I just felt overpowered most of the time, which I guess, is cool and all. But yeah, there's not a lot there. You're attacking with the square button. You're like spamming the square button. You do have up triangle, down triangle attack, and a regular triangle attack that you can do that do different spells. You have an R2 superpower attack type thing, and then you can call people in with the up and down arrow or up and left button, whatever, to do a support attack. You can swap out your character in between battles. You can put different party members on there and you can swap them out and you can actually play as these other characters, which do play completely different. You do have to play some of these other ones for missions as well, so it kind of works out. And I do think that the combat is one of the fun parts about the game. However, there are so many dull parts that it makes the fun parts kind of not worth it. I would give that time I got Reincarnated as Slime, Isekai Chronicles, a 5 out of 10. Unfortunately, Bandai Namco has not been hitting it with the anime adaptations. If you have any questions about the game, let me know in the comments down below. As always, keep getting those trophies. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This has been Chris with Platinum Reviews. Have a good rest of your day.